An outstanding case, have we not?
No, we're just saying that the effect of the proposed changes at the moment is that's the effect of having the council tax.
That's having a precept of 190,706 to keep it so that the Band D council tax charge doesn't change. It will reduce your precept by 180,795.
How much
So
is it? Which
if
is
we
what,
leave it
10
in the
k?
budget, what we're saying is we're expecting the people of Arlesey to pay extra council tax
Yeah.
to support our legal costs.
Well, not necessarily that, but other things that have been put in the precept as
Well,
well.
I'm just looking at it quite basically,
Well,
because I think that's how people
that's
in
what
the
it's
community would look at it.
We've got a motion forward to take it out of reserves.
Well, that's right, we'll have to just take it out of reserves.
In addition, I think we should have a review, efficiency review on any savings we can make. And looks like, for example, the telephone stuff. So
Yes.
have a programme of efficiency savings.
Yes.
Well, with the telephones, if you pay a year in advance for your whole year, you pay about as much as doing it monthly, you pay each month.
Yeah.
And
So I think there should be
It's
some kind of
huge
efficiency
savings.
savings.
Yeah, because did we get an email with 3 separate months, which were, to my mind, quite high, so I don't know whether we could get it cheaper. I don't
You
No,
can.
know.
I'm not going to tell you, but I'm just saying that, that's what we'll do. We'll bring it back in January after making the suitable changes and then obviously reporting to you what's been done. Yeah? Well, I think you all agree that we can't put through a rise of 5.5%, can we?
Even before you put the 4,500 on professional fees, it was still, I
Over.
think, 6,000.
Still over.
So that isn't the only reason it's gone up.
Well, we need
Okay,
to look at
right, well,
doing
that's-
things differently then.
That's the effect of that, yes, so we need to crack on here. Mhm.
Proposed reset for next month's meeting.
Yeah, take it out of reserves.
We're gonna-
We can't just no increase because we've got to alter budgets to
Okay,
keep it the
well,
same.
what we want to do, what the precept last year was 100, is it, am I reading this?
179,512.
So we want to preset the same, because we've gone over, the balance we'll take from reserves. And also we'll have an efficiency savings programme as well. That's what we resolved.
Yeah,
We need to
what
look at where we
budget
can-
lines are you going to take out of this? Are you saying you're going to take out of reserves?
It would be a
Well,
figure at the end, just a balancing figure, so, I don't know,
Probably professional fees.
you wouldn't do it on individual lines,
No,
put
we're
a line at
saying-
the end, saying, income from reserves, transfer from reserves, to offset.
Would you do it like that, Leslie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Would you like to explain?
Incidentally, I've got the earmark reserves here. The general reserves at month 7 has got 114,000 in it, and contingency 17,000. And then there's various earmark reserves for various things like scope art, cemetery.
Okay, so there'd be an adjustment on the bottom line, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Right. All right. Okay, so now we come to approving the new fees and charges for 15-16, which is 13D. The first one is to recommend no increase to the charges for the football pitch hire for 15-16, and to further recommend a refund of £20 for the football team to be given at the end of the season, as recommended by the Environmental Committee meeting of the 18th of November. What do the councillors think of that?
I'd recommend approval, Mr Chair.
Well, before we have a vote,
What was the rationale for that?
I'd like to make a point, right? I don't really understand the rationale for it. Why no increase the football pitches?
Right.
And how can we afford to give £20 back to every team?
Right. It's quite a simple one, because they haven't spent over an hour clearing the pitches from dog feces, from drug paraphernalia, for litter, okay? And we are, if we keep rising and rising and rising, they will even go in getting the multi thing going online, going live. Okay, we will lose all the income from that, and that was the rationale, because it's absolutely, there's 61 different diseases that kids can get from dog faeces, and it's not right that they should have to clear up dog faeces before they can use the pitches. So that was the rationale.
Councillor West, that is a hazard at any pitch that is played on in that open ground.
But underneath dog rules it shouldn't be, but yeah, that is the rationale.
Yeah. Okay, well, so are we approving that then or not? That's no increase to the football fees for next financial year, plus a £20 refund for each football team on top of that, at the end of that year.
And this year it was.
Councillor,
The refund's nonsense.
sorry?
I think the refund's nonsense. I agree with keeping out the same fee, but the refund, I don't like it. And to be honest, there's laws against dogs fouling on football pitches. Someone should be taking a firm stand against that.
We can highlight the 2 central beds where the new wardens will come out and patrol more often in those areas.
Yes, that would be a much better way around.
They said that bringing the give £20 back rather than reduce the pitch, because the right thought we should reduce the fees. And they came up with the Environment Committee, they turned around and said quite clearly, instead of reducing the pitches, come up with this £20 discount.
Can we come up with a compromise where we don't give any rise but take away the refund?
I mean, just keep in context, this figure, we only raised £200 a year from the whole football pitches anyway.
That's the budget
Well, the budget was 300 then.
for next year.
Yeah.
So this year,
So even if it was 10% rise, only 30 quid. I mean, it's just keep our feet on the ground.
Right, did we have a proposal initially? Right, have we got a second for Councillor West's proposal? Which is to carry this through as it is. We have an alternative,
I'll
do you hear that, Councillor Holloway?
Yeah, I'll second. I'm not on that committee, but I'll second it.
No, you're on it, so you can second it. Okay. So, do other members agree with that? To have no increase and also a £20 refund? So
Has anyone done a calculation on how much less income?
We've got £366 in this year.
Pardon?
£366 came in this year.
I don't think it's so much about the money, is it? It's more about the principle, really.
And that's 14, so...
I think it was because it was youth teams and they were struggling. Did you not say you brought a proposal?
Yeah, I did. I brought it all to
David, something about
They're struggling
youth
because
teams that were struggling to buy
they're struggling to buy
kits
kits,
or
they're
something.
trying to go to different places, the whole raft of stuff, and they brought it to here.
Okay.
And
We've had a proposal, we've had a second. Has anybody else agree with
I've
that?
actually given out 2 financial assistance forms to the football teams this week.
Right. Anybody else agree with this proposal, gentlemen? Recommendation? Just 2. Anyone want to offer an alternative proposal?
Give them back 40 quid.
if you're proposing it,
or you're giving it.
Okay, right.
Well, we've got to make a
it's
decision.
got to be voted on.
2 members, so the rest of, who's voting against that then? I'll vote against it.
Sorry.
no refund.
Well, I suppose
You can't look at cost, you can
in light of the precepts, I think I'll go against that.
So anybody else voting against this proposal, this recommendation?
lost
Right, so
control.
can we have an alternative proposal then, ladies?
Well, you first objected, could you
Right, I'll make the proposal that we keep the charges the same, but we don't give a refund.
Yeah.
Okay?
We
Can
don't
we,
increase it.
Huh?
We don't increase it.
Right, yeah. Can we have a vote on that, yeah? So
Yeah.
I'll say yes.
Yeah.
We'll that, right, okay, so that's got the majority.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's no refund, but we leave the fees as they are.
Can't go into the
Right, 13D2 is to consider a 3% increase in fees and charges for litter picking, hire of the village hall and the Newgate and allotment rents. Can we say yes to that?
Yes.
We've already more or less said yes, most of us say.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Oh, sorry, the one I omitted there was the no increase to the charges for the cemetery.
Yeah. that's
Yeah.
right.
That's not something that I approve of, but if members generally agree with it, then I think it will go through.
well, it's because it's not been used, does it? We've had all the problems.
Yeah, we've had a lot of problems. Probably
So the reasoning is that because it's been out of action for so long, you're
What would you?
you're proposing no increase because we're well under the market, the going rate for fees, as you're well aware, Councillor.
I am aware of that, but I think how many people, is it 4 a year?
Well, we were using it,
I
yes,
mean, it's not a
roughly 4 barrels a year.
significant amount of money here we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I think I think we're on par with Stockholm in terms of fee. That's hard to say. So I don't think that wide of a mark. We were at £45, weren't we? By now I think we're up £300 a year.
Was it 200?
Well, some of the cemeteries charge well over 1,000. We're only charging, we currently charge £500 for a full interment.
Yeah, that's engaging with
500.
our
That's
neighbours.
fair, I think. You've
That's for a
got,
single plot. Yeah.
yeah, but you've gone from just such a nominal amount to a
45.
huge increase.
Okay,
I mean,
so
you know, you've got to be fair here.
right, so we're generally saying that there's no increase. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Are we all happy? Are we happy? Right, thank you. First one. And 3 is to consider a 3% increase on the fees for the hire of the resource centre, as recommended by the GP and Finance Committee meeting of the 18th November.
Yep.
Yeah, right, okay. E, financial assistance. To approve the financial assistance application from the World Scout Jamboree.
Mr.
It's
Chair,
£50 to each person, isn't it? I think there's 2 scouts.
yeah, it said that's what we agreed, but it says only £50 on here. To order £50. Don't you? You can read.
I think it was for £50
It is £50 per person, agreed.
That's £50 per person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
on this
£100.
side. Yeah. Resource Centre Wi-Fi project, this is F. To approve the recommendation to install Wi-Fi in the Resource Centre, £99 for the router and the monthly fee of £25 by the GP and Finance Committee meeting of the 18th November.
Yep.
Yeah. Street lighting, G. A quotation for £340 has been received by our contractor for a street lighting repair to the column of A7 in Stockfold Road. Got a burnt out lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we just give general approval for that, yeah? Right. Right, 14 and 15, which were originally 13 and 14, we can't really make any progress on those because for various reasons, the 2 working parties have not met. And have to be carried forward to January, so we're currently still using the old, we're currently using the ones that we've got in place. Okay? 16. Land to the rear of 128, 134 High Street, Arlesey, which is the pitch of land facing the Nuka.
Mr. Chair, we've been here several times. We should vote it down again. Okay.
Councillor West, hang on a moment, I'm just introducing the item.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, right. I don't know, I think I've got a copy of this, isn't it?
From the MP.
Oh, it's from the MP, isn't it, called
Yes.
Stephen Apartment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an attached letter. Have you got the letter?
Yes.
Well, I've got my own thoughts on this, but I'm sure you've got your own as well. My thoughts are that I don't understand the objection that was had in the past to agreeing a deed of easement for an amount of money when the proposed developer, Mr. Oliver, is actually proposing to tarmac 5 metres of road, which is council owned, from the road back, and then upgrade and shingle the remainder of the road right to the end of the drive. That's the way I see it. I think it's I think that's sort of a win-win for the council, but I know other members see it differently.
We do.
So, Councillor Clapham,
We're talking about the road,
talking about the pathway
yeah, that's
or the road that goes
going down to the high road.
behind here, up to the Muga.
The other side of the WI. The truck.
Yeah, and it goes
Footpath
down to the
number
high
one.
street.
Yeah, you're going in one direction.
Yeah.
Footpath number 1.
So I'm dyslexic. No, it's simply that when the school parents, etc., bringing their children up to school, and there's complete chaos and danger of everybody shooting in and out of there. If there's an easement and it becomes a nice road, it's only going to increase that. It'll be used far more.
Well, no, it wouldn't necessarily be used more. It just depends on what restrictive measures you put into that road. Because that's another agenda item that's coming up, isn't it? The road itself.
And
Because the guy himself is proposing to do what he said. He's also proposing certain bollards which wouldn't really be workable outside his place. But you could have a rising bollard that would retract in the ground, which would prevent cars going up and down randomly, that could be used only by the residents that have access. Yeah, and that's the only way to do it. There's no other way that can be controlled, that road.
The only problem is also is that this housing association that's always been trying to
No, they're not part of this.
with their, no, I know, but they want to get in there with this high-rise
20 houses.
building or whatever. And if there's an easement there, and you're setting a
Yeah,
precedent...
but the easement could have conditions on it, that it's only for the development
Yeah, but
of
you
one
set,
property.
how do we know that the developer is not in conjunction with the housing association?
No, but what I'm saying is the idea of the conditions that it would prevent any further development if they broke that agreement.
Yeah, but once there's a precedent set,
Okay, right.
that is when they can get... Do you know what would be a much better idea? Would be to buy that plot of land off this developer and use it to increase the car parking facilities here. Then he could have the money, such as his story, to buy a place down in Stevenage, which would be much more convenient for his poor
Yeah,
wife
but
to
you
go
did-
to the list and have the
I
council.
don't think the residents would like the council spending £50,000 on a rubbish plot of land to play.
Well, it would make, if we could make that car park usable, it would be much more convenient for all the residents that have got, that use this car park, that bring their children to school, for the doctors, etc.
Councillor West.
Councillor Holloway was before me, by the way. He's had his hand up on
Councillor Holloway.
Sure, okay.
Councillor Holloway.
Yeah, this council does feel strongly every time it comes up. The debate sets off to try and change our minds. This isn't a planning application. This is a letter from a Stevenage MP. Do we just write back and say no to it?
Say no.
Well, no, but the question is, we're debating a letter that says, we're grateful for your comments. So I think we should go back and say, refer them to the minutes on the website. Here's where it was discussed, and this is the conclusion. It's all there. It's in the public domain. We said no.
Of course we can do that. Nothing to stop us doing that.
No, that's it then. What's the next item?
If you can you propose it and I'll second that we actually refuse it?
I propose what I just said.
But it's not an application, is it?
No,
We're proposing, Mick's proposing that it's a refusal and I'm seconding the
no, it's
refusal.
not say, okay, my proposal is that we write back to Stephen McPartland and say that the application's been considered more than once, we've rejected it more than once, the minutes are on the website, and maybe give them a link to where the minutes are stored, and then you can see chapter and verse.
I'll second that one.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
No, there was a total agreement apart from myself.
Can we do a name vote?
I think it's dangerous. I
That's what it's
really
like to
do.
lose 14-1.
Right, so moving on then. Right, 17. The neighbourhood plan. Right, where's this document? Right. Well, we have had. Have they got a copy of this? Oh, it's only just come in. Okay. We've had a report back from Central Beds that, and I'll read it to you because it's not very long. It's from Sally Chapman, who's a development plan process manager and a regeneration and business directorate at Central Bedfordshire. And she states this: The Town Council is the body responsible for producing the neighbourhood plan. The content, public engagement, timetable and funding is the responsibility of the Town Council. Central Bedfordshire Council has a duty to support. This means it will provide you with information and advice. We also sometimes hold training events. Our website will be updated later this year, which will provide some links to further information and documentation. Later on in the process, we have to act in the formal role of assessing the final draft neighbourhood plan, arrange and pay for examination and referendum. However, in the meantime, I suggest the following to start you off. The first step is generally that a steering group is set up to report to the Town Council. The steering group can be made up of councillors, residents and interested parties. The steering group meetings can be closed or open to the public. It is up to the group or Town Council. The clerk's role in other places has been to take minutes and produce agendas for the steering group meetings, which are then published to ensure transparency. Because they now have 15 neighbourhood plans at various stages, they have engaged BEDS Rural Communities Charity, that's BEDS BRCC, to help us with this duty and support, and Mike Fayers would be your initial contact. Once you have the steering group set up, I would be happy to come and talk to the group with Mike. Best wishes, Sally Chapman. So, he wants a copy. We'll get a copy for you. Have a look. You want a copy?
I'll send councillors.
Have a look. Pass it back. So that is the situation. So it's open to councillors, interested parties, residents.
So we did put a committee together.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
no.
I've got that
Most
down
of
there.
those that did it have stepped down, haven't they?
So, do you want to put this working party together?
Well, we need to decide on something.
Yep.
Because if we don't do anything, it's not going to happen, is it? So who wants to run it from the council? Councillor Holloway, Councillor West, and Councillor Clapham. And then we need to advertise it, I would suggest.
Can I have that for you? I'll put it on Facebook.
You want to do that, do you?
People, if you don't mind.
On the website as well.
Yeah, I don't mind, that's fine.
All right then, I'll draft
But you need, I don't really know what an ideal number would be, but I would say something like 7 or 8, probably up to 10, but no more. I wouldn't have thought, the bigger the number, the more difficult it would be to control, isn't it?
Well, it depends on the structure of the committee. I mean, it's a working party, it's not a committee, so there's no sense of core work and votes and things like this, but we've got work stuff to get done, and there's lots to be done.
It's a big lot to be
Yeah,
done.
so,
And there was a resident who was very keen on getting involved.
Yeah,
I forget
we've
the
got some
name.
talent in the village.
Georgina.
there's a lot of people that I think would like to get involved.
I've got some examples of towns of reference as well. for you to
Put
work
these
on.
on the agenda, please.
Yeah, so that is where we are with it. It's obviously been approved. It's now up to us to sort of make the initial steps and move it on. Yeah. So until that's been done, we can have an update report at the next meeting, can't we?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sure
sure
by
the agenda
then
for every meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll take action to keep the ball rolling.
So
Right, I'll pass it
chairing
back to you now.
You're chairing.
Yeah, I'll chair that, I'm happy to chair that.
Right, sure. All right, we're moving on to 18, which is the children's play area, BMX and skate park. A, to consider the quotation for various repairs and replacements at the children's play area. You should have a copy of that.
Mr Chair, with one exception, you're saying about a temporary paint of the train and then repaint the train in spring, okay? Due to ladies in the winter now, I would suggest that we do not get a chain painted now. We said, can we take the train away and what can we power coat it to deal with in one, so we only have to deal with it in one go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether you've totaled this up, but the total cost of those works is just over £6,000.
I am.
If you take off, if you consider B as well, which is the children's play area, equipment, new equipment, I don't know whether you've got a copy of this because it's only just come through today.
It's in our drawer.
He's proposing the removal of the activity rail. If you take that cost off, you're saving £1,700. So immediately you bring it down to 4,300.
Yeah.
Have you got a copy of this? Yeah. You know what this is about, don't you? You haven't been in much.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so Councillor West, what are your comments on this?
We need to get the repairs done, keep it open, we've had enough, it's been closed long enough, it's caused enough aggravation. If we're having that piece of worn out removed and having some new stuff put in there, then great, okay, let's go for it, and it's going to be shut off in a way that the children can still play and continue to use it all the time the work is taking place. And we need to get it done as soon as possible.
Other councillors? Councillor Holloway?
So just bringing Councillor Banks up to speed.
Have we considered other quotations? Presumably we have.
No.
We've employed this person as our inspector every month, and also let us know about what repairs need to be done.
How do we ensure this is valid for money?
Okay, we'll send it after. We just closed it.
No,
We've just been happy. The play area closed, and yet here we are. We've called it
Councillor West.
specialist in.
On moment.
Okay.
We decided on a company to manage, so to speak, the play area because of health and safety issues that had occurred there throughout the year. Yeah? And we decided upon a company called Clements Play Management because we already use their services anyway. Right? Also, we were under pressure of time because we wanted to try and put some equipment in there for disabled children. And in order to take advantage of S106 monies that were at central beds, we had to get a submission in like by the end of this year, otherwise the money would go elsewhere. And so therefore, I don't know whether you've got 17B, but if you look at that in conjunction with 17, that he is recommending that additional play equipment and the removal of the wooden activity equipment. Because he said that that is very old. It's going to need massive replacement. It's going to be. It's basically not cost effective, is it?
So there was, as well as that, there was this is reparation. We've done some repair. We made it safer.
Yeah.
So we were right against the wall. So we took decisions that over £1,000 each tender and stuff like that. Or we agreed to swerve that on this occasion.
He has sent an email and he says this. If you've got the quote in front of you, he says, here is my quotation for some extra play items because the council agreed that they needed someone with more specialist knowledge to make decisions on what we needed in there. Yeah? That's why we asked him, and I rang him up and told him exactly what the requirement was. And he then said, that here's my quotation for some extra play items which I described as inclusive and meet requirements under DDA requirements. I will try to email pictures, which I don't think we've got yet. But I thought it might be helpful if you had some figures, obviously on the first page. Please tell the committee these are just suggestions and the choices are numerous. Please bear in mind the existing play area has a good selection of equipment at present, with the train, a couple of the springers, the junior multiplayer unit, cradle springs and seesaw, all considered inclusive items. Yeah? So that's what he's saying. So there is recommendations for how we will improve the play area using some of the funds that are available at central beds to bring in new DDA equipment.
So if I remember, there's about 21,000 available. Is that match funding or is that all just go
You
spend?
do have to put some money into it.
We would. Did you know roughly how much?
No, because we haven't put the,
No.
we've got to put the submission in first.
100?
£100.
Let me put the submission in. Oh, we always advertise it.
So anyway, there's that's the information you've got. So, I mean, we said we needed someone to do this work for us. We've now got him to do it. We haven't got an alternative quote because of the reasons that I've outlined. But I believe that...
Mr. Chair, can I propose that we, at this moment in time, step aside a financial reg saying over £1,000 you've got to get the 3 quotes. On this occasion, we step aside financial regs and get it
Well,
done
no,
as
we
soon as
do
possible.
it for exceptional reasons like health and safety. Yeah. So are council approving this package, so to speak?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm asking a question, I'm waiting for an answer. Everyone's sort of looking